like I said, I had an older brother. He's 2 years older than me. His name was Bill. And Bill could talk me into, yeah, it still is. Bill could talk me into anything. You know, I far back as I can remember, I think I was like 6 and he was 8. He'd be like, come on, Larry, let's go. I go, where are we going? He goes, we're going to go burn the house down. I'm like, let's go. That sounds like fun. So if anybody is familiar with Provo, there used to be this green store that was shaped like a turtle. We would get on that sucker and we'd run around it and we'd get our butts beat. So this time we go to the store and we're sitting there and I'm like, Dad, are we going to go in? And he's like, nah, you guys try to burn the store down. They don't want you in there. So he said, you guys got to stay out here. And during the middle of summer, back then in 1970, you could leave your kids in the car. Nobody cared. Today, you leave them, you're going to have 10 cops and your butt's going to jail. Back then, if I left the toilet seat up, my dad would drag me around the blocks and some guy would say, nah, you left the toilet seat up. So we're sitting in the car, our brother's in the front seat and I'm in the back. And he's playing with the cigarette lighter. And the only thing I knew about that cigarette lighter is it lit my mom and dad's cigarettes, and they loved to smoke. They loved it. So he's in the front, like I said, I'm in the back, and he takes a lighter, and he goes, Larry, stick your thumb up here. This won't burn skin. I'm like, really? So I stick my thumb up there. He puts that on the end. I'm like, ah! I start screaming. It's smoking. It's got a white ring. Anybody want to try it? Go try it. Leaves a white ring on it. And I'm crying, and I'm sucking on my thumb. And I said, you're dead when Mom and Dad get in the car. And I look at my brother, and he's got this look like he didn't really think I was going to do that. So he goes, Larry, stick your other thumb. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. What an idiot. Well, I did. And he burnt my other thumb. So I got 2 thumbs that are burnt, and I'm crying like crazy, sucking on my thumb. And then when my mom and dad came back about a year later after shopping, you know, he got yelled at, but we weren't home, so he couldn't get punished. So another story, we had, how many kids, when you were little boys, didn't love to play Cowboys and Indians? We loved that game. My brother had the full setup, and he had the little plastic arrows with the rubber tips. So we'd play, and if you got shot, you knew you got shot. He gave me a cap gun. I'd shoot him 20 times, point blank, and he'd be like, you missed. I'm like, how did I miss? You're right there. And he'd shoot me with the arrow, and you knew it. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm not playing with you no more. I'm out of here. He goes, wait, I know another game we can play. I'm like, all right, what? He goes, go stand up by the house. And he had these other wooden arrows that he sharpened to a point. He goes, go stand up by the house, and I'll see how close I can get to you without hitting you. I'm like, oh man, that sounds like fun. I'm on it. So I go up there, and he lets that arrow go, and it hits me right in the side of the face. So I ripped my ear off. And I start screaming. And then I put my hand up there, and I got blood, and it's even worse. And I'm running in, I'm telling Dad. And Bill's like, don't tell Dad. See, our dad was over 6 feet tall, probably 270. You remember ever hearing when you were little about Bigfoot? How everybody said, oh, I saw Bigfoot? You know why you don't hear about that no more? Because he's dead. My dad killed him. We went camping and he found him and killed him. So I go run in the house and my mom gets mad. She's like, Bill, get in here. And she pounds his butt and sends him in the corner. And she's like, and she bandages me up and she goes, go stand in the corner. I go, why do I gotta stand in the corner? And she goes, because you always listen to your brother. Stop listening to him. So I'm walking up to the corner just like thinking, oh man. But the thing is, my brother had his and I had mine. I spent so much time in it, I'd be looking at it, there'd be a face looking back at me. And I'd be walking up to it and, you know, when you're that age, you start talking to yourself. And I'm like, man, I did it again. And he's like, what'd you do? I go, man, I can't stop listening to my brother. He always gets me in trouble. And he goes, well, is there something you want to talk about? I'm like, no. He goes, why don't we talk about girls? I'm like, I'm 6 years old. I hate girls. I got babies. So my family, another Saturday, my family takes off. And me and Bill are left here. My dad had these fish tanks that covered the whole wall. And as far as I know, he sold the fish or something. But he had this tank in the middle that I could get to, and he had these angelfish in there. And my brother's like, Larry, come here. He goes, you see those fish right there? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, if you take those fish out and put them on the ground, they'll grow legs and walk and find water so they don't die. I'm like, are you serious? They will? He goes, yep. So I scoop them out, and I put them on the ground, and I'm touching their sides. And I'm like, Bill, they're not growing legs. So somebody must have told him because he took off. He left. He goes, they will, just wait. And so I got all these fish out, there's about 10 of them, and I got them on the ground, and I'm looking at them, and I'm touching them, and I'm like, they're not growing legs. And you know how you are as a kid, you lose track, so I go off play for a little while, and I come back, and they're all dead. I'm like, oh, crap. My dad's going to kill me. Anybody know what a brain duster is? That's when your dad wraps the top of your head with his knuckles. I got so many brain dusters when I was a kid, my head was shaped like a football.
Was.
I'm the funny guy, not you. And so I'm thinking, dude, what are you going to do? He's going to kick your butt so hard, his foot's going to come out your mouth. And I'm like thinking, oh man. So I pick up the fish, I put him back in the fish tank. I think, okay, maybe the water will bring him back to life. So I go off and play, and then I hear my parents pull up, and then my mom comes in. I run upstairs. I'm hiding under the bed. There's no way I'm coming out. And she's yelling, Bill, Larry, where are you guys? And we're not going to answer our mom. She's a pushover. But when my dad yelled, you didn't let him yell twice. Because if he yelled twice, they'd never see you again. You'd be gone. You'd be fertilizer. So I come down, and I'm like, yeah, Dad? He goes, what happened to these fish? And I'm looking, I'm like, I know what happened, Dad. They drowned. He's like, fish don't drown. What happened? I go, I don't know, Dad. He goes, where's your brother? And I go, I don't know. He yells, Bill. And I turn on, he's right there. I don't know where it was. I in my back pocket. And he goes, Bill, what happened to these fish? Well, I don't know. He said, why don't you better tell me you're both getting it? So Bill's like, Dad, he took them out of the fish tank and let them die. I'm like, Dad, I did not. Bill said if I took them out, they'd grow legs and walk to water so they didn't die. And he smashed him upside the head. He goes, why don't you listen to your brother? I'm thinking, well, I didn't realize he's trying to kill me, Dad. So about a week after standing in the corner, we're coming home one day from school. And we're talking about going to our cousin's house. We grew up in Springville. My cousins lived in Spanish Fort. And when we got there, my dad wasn't there. So my brother, of course, he said, ask Mom if we can go. So I run in and say, hey, Mom, can we go to Bobby's house? And she's like, well, you got to wait for Dad to get home. He's not here. I don't know. So finally he comes home and he's in the house. So I run in and say, hey, Dad, can we go to our cousin's house? He goes, no. He goes, I got just enough gas to last me until payday. I'm like, well, I've got a nickel. Will that help? He goes, no, I need a full tank. And so I run out and tell my brother, I said, Bill, we can't go. Dad doesn't have enough gas. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? I go, I got an idea. Why don't you go stand by the house and let me shoot you in the head with an arrow? So he goes, I know what we can do. I go, what? He goes, grab the end of the hose. What am I going to do with the end of the hose? He goes, open up, take the gas cap off, put it in, and I'll turn the water on. I'm like, that ain't going to work. That's water. He goes, yeah, but it'll mix with the gas. It'll work. I'm like, are you sure? He goes, yeah, then we can go. So I put it in, I turn it on, and it starts squirting back. I'm like, okay, it's full. And then he goes, go and tell Dad. You know, you'd think I would learn. So I go in and tell him, and he's like, I'm like, Dad, we can go now, the tanks are full. And he's like, what the hell did you two do? And I go, you said if you had a full tank of gas, we could go. And I go, Bill told me to put the end of the hose in there, and he filled it full of water. You know, after I blacked out, I don't remember much, but I remember being in the corner, and I'm like thinking, you know what? I am never listening to my brother again. And it was at that point I realized I had a little sister.